What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is Wednesday, which of course means it's time for another West New York Wednesday here on the channel. And today is another one of those rare brewery showcase West New York Wednesdays where I feature a couple different beers from a brewery that I haven't reviewed on the channel. And that brewery is Griffon Brewing, and they're out of Youngstown, New York. And I have their NZ, or New Zealand Sunrise, and their Fierce Haka Dance. So New Zealand, or NZ Sunrise, is an IPA that comes in at 5.9% alcohol by volume and no IBUs listed, while Fierce Haka Dance is a West Coast IPA that comes in at 7.2% alcohol by volume and 54 IBUs at the time of review. I don't know exactly how old either of these cans are because they have no canned on dates, unfortunately. However, I know these are relatively fresh because I picked both of these up at my favorite local bottle shop of choice, Brewed and Bottled in Lewiston, New York, and I'm pretty sure Chris, the owner, got these in a couple weeks before I grabbed them. And I think both of these beers are from like the middle of December, so I would say that these are no older than 6 weeks old at the time of review, and they might be a bit fresher. So Griffon Brewing, they're a relatively new brewery. I think they opened up their doors around a year ago. It was around this time last year. I've had a couple beers from them, never reviewed anything on the channel, so I thought I'd pick up an IPA. I think this is a hazy IPA, and then a West Coast IPA, and see which one I enjoy more. Now, the hops, I have no idea. NZ Sunrise, couldn't find a lot of information about it. However, Fierce Haka Dance is dry hopped with, I believe it was Rakau, Motueka, and Nelson Sauvin hops. NZ Sunrise, I'd imagine, uses mostly New Zealand hops. I think both of these use just New Zealand hops, probably at least in the dry hops. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do the cuvee, aka now cuvee, at the end, but first I just want to review each of these, and we're going to do a little like a side by side and just see which one I prefer. But it's not really like a true side by side because it doesn't need to be, as I just spill and throw beer everywhere. So we're going to crack both of these open, and I'm going to give them nice pours, and then we're going to give them a go. Oh yeah. So I think this West Coast IPA over here, I think it's more of like a new school West Coast IPA, but I could be wrong. Anyway, let's give it a nice pour here. Yeah, this is definitely hazy. We're going to pour the same amount for both beers. I want to leave a little bit in at the bottom so I can do the cuvee at the end properly. As I cracked it open, stuff went everywhere. We'll do that. And now we have the West Coast IPA, which should be clear, which it is. All right, let's see how I did with the, ooh, this one has great carbonation, a lot more than that. So I want to see how these end up being like. Yeah, I think they have a similar amounts of beer left in them. So throw it over here like that. I'm trying to make sure that with my new camera here doing the first side-by-side, everything looks how it should, but might not be. Anyway, so I would say despite the incorrect pouring of an aggressive pour with this crazy head, these both look really nice. So let's get the looks here of them. So as you can see, try to turn my head so it can kind of see, is it focusing more on the beer? Now it is. So you have that, which is definitely hazy as all can be, hazy AF as some folks would say. So that has that beautiful like honey orange color, a murky turbid, a finger of this beautiful off-white colored head, very frothy looking, looks fantastic. And then this one is your West Coast IPA. That is definitely more of a clarity to it. You can probably see the shadow of my hand behind it for sure. Let me get my face out of there. But yeah, that's a beautiful looking beer, if I do say so myself. 3 fingers of a, I'd say a straight white colored head. Both heads look somewhat soap sudsy, although this one's look a little bit more creamy. And again, you hold them up side by side, and I would say that they both look really nice, albeit the difference in heads. Now, if I bust out my, can you see? Yeah, now you can see. You go through the side here. Let me go from the bottom here and see if that does anything. You know, probably not as much as I would think. But yeah, you can see, go through here, like I said, like you can definitely see, get my face out of the way, Joe. But yeah, you can see it has definitely more of a clarity to it, while this probably has no clarity to it whatsoever. Yeah, you can see the haze and the murk and everything through there for sure. Oh, now I'm putting now you can't see it through the other side. You see I got the light here, but it's not going through it. So that's kind of wild, isn't it? That's how murky it is. All right, get rid of this. Anyway, let's get into the hazy first. Let's get a nose. Yeah, that's definitely New Zealand hops. Absolutely huge. I don't know what they're using in here, but there's a huge stone fruit and like tropical fruit quality. Tons of peach, mango, apricot. It's like very stone fruit heavy, almost like a peacherine kind of feel. Yeah, peacherine, nectaron, something like that. It's a little bit of like a white wine-ish kind of like gooseberry thing. Maybe Nelson in here. Wow, this smells super fresh. Like I said, I feel this is probably in that like 4 to 6 week range. This smells like it's 4 to 6 days old. It's so intense in the nose. Yeah, just sweet. Maybe my mouth water. Sweet, juicy kind of stone and tropical fruit. Maybe an underlying like citrus kind of quality, like an orange peel. Touch of like a dank, like herbaceousness too. Because it's only 5.9, I do get a touch of a like a grainy kind of like almost doughy malt character. Wow, that smells insanely aromatic for a sub 6% hazy. Jesus, that smells awesome. Let's get a nose on the Fierce Haka Dance. Ooh. Wow, this is way different. Wow. So this is the first time in a long time that I can say that this has such an herbal kind of feeling to it. The nose is basil, it's thyme. It just has that kind of... Yeah, wow, that just has that like herbaceous kind of almost like an Italian, like you're cooking an Italian meal and you're using like a bunch of different herbs in there, like in your sauce. Specifically like basil and I'd say thyme. There is a nice little bit of like a Nelson influence here, maybe a touch of like a lemon lime. Has a candied fruit vibe. Wow, that smells so different. There is more of a malt character presence here. Has a little bit of that like caramel kind of just like breadiness. Yeah, this smell, I'll be honest with you, this smells good but not great. This smells very good to great. I do like the nose of the hazy. It's a little bit more vibrant. And like I said, if I had to guess, I think this is a bit fresher. This just has such a different, there's a little bit of like pine too in this, but that herbaceousness kind of is winning me over, but at the same time, kind of, it's just weird for the style. Like it's a West Coast IPA. I'm thinking pine and citrus. And if it's a new school West Coast IPA, you know, some more of like that oomph of that, fruit character. But this has kind of like a hazy nose to it to some degree. I don't know. Let's get into the NZ Sunrise. Cheers, everyone. That's delicious. Yeah, that's real nice. This is very flavorful for 5.9%. Like, it's insane. Yeah, 5.9%. I had to do a double take because this drink's bigger from the characteristics of the beer, the intensity of the flavors, the body and mouthfeel are even better than 5.9% would indicate. Body, this is like a little bit over medium body. That's approaching higher side of medium body, 5.9%. That's impressive. The mouthfeel has a nice mild to moderate carbonation. It's kind of a little bit spritzy on the palate, but as it continues on, it smooths out and becomes a bit softer, and it has a beautiful creamy kind of feeling to it as well. So mouthfeel and the body are very impressive for, again, I don't know how many times I'm going to say this in the review, but 5.9%, that is insane how drinkable this is. I shouldn't say how drinkable it is. I said that and I like blanked out. I was like, what did I just say? No, how impactful the flavors are for something sub 6%. The taste is a lot of what the nose was indicating, which huge stone fruit and tropical vibes. Forefront's a little bit of that like orange peel, grapefruit peel, but then instantly transitions into like an overripened peach, apricot, mango, stone fruit. There's a little bit of like a pineapple, that white wine I was getting, a little bit of gooseberry, white grape, definitely the Nelson's there. Even if there's no Nelson here, it tastes like there is. And then it finishes with this dank, slightly herbaceous tone. Not to this degree in the nose. Like it doesn't have a huge basil and thyme, just has like a generic like dank kind of like a marijuana weedy type of thing. Maybe a little bit of grassiness. This is bone dry, so it's pretty sweet up front, but bone dry, mild bitterness, very well balanced for sub 6% because it's not too sweet to begin with. I'm talking about all these sweet fruits and whatnot, but it is less than 6%, so there isn't a huge sweetness. There's an underlying like doughy malt I'm getting as well, but it's not that big. This is beautifully balanced. Like this is an everyday hazy New Zealand, or let's say New Zealand IPA that is infinitely crushable. Like, I could drink a lot of this without question. That's good. Let me cleanse the palate and go in for the West Coast one. All right, let's get into the fierce Haka Dance. Cheers, everyone. I'm struggling. I was going to go in to sniff it, and then I wanted to drink it, and I just went like this. We're going to smell it. Now we're going to sip it. Cheers. Yeah. To me, this definitely has, despite the hop bill, has a lot of old school influence with a new school kind of vibe. It does have a bigger bitterness than the hazy, but that herbaceousness is definitely present. So let's go body mouthfeel. Man, this is like higher side of medium. So it's not that far off from this, despite being 7.2 to 5.9. So I think it's appropriate for the ABV, but not that impressive. The mouthfeel, definitely more crisp. It has a moderate carbonation. It has a nice kind of crisp nature to the mouthfeel. Not really like soft or incredibly smooth or creamy or anything. It's smooth as a whole, but like it's more crisp than anything else. The taste, let me go back in. So there is caramel, little bit of bread, hits me at the forefront, dives underneath the palate, and then I get a lot of citrus. It's orange peel into orange pith, like rindy orange, grapefruit, like a white grapefruit. It's bittering, like a bittering kind of citrus tone at the forefront. Passes through, I do get a little bit of a lemon lime from the Motueka. The Rakau is just probably bringing other nondescript fruits to the forefront. I'm really not getting much Nelson in here because about halfway to 2/3 way through the palate, that herbaceousness kind of hits with a little bit of like a little bit of a stone fruit, maybe a touch of a pineapple. But really the second half of the palate is dominated by this herbaceous, dank, and there's a little bit of a piney quality here. So this is like an old school IPA meets an old school West Coast IPA meets a new school West Coast IPA. It still has, the big maltiness that you get a lot of times in old school West Coast IPAs, like a caramel breadiness, and it has the pine and the citrus, but then it's introducing this herbaceousness. There's this slight dank quality in addition to like a little bit of a tropical fruit vibe as well. Interesting. I don't like this as much as the hazy, which I would have thought would be the opposite way around because I'm digging West Coast IPAs a little bit more nowadays. Yeah, I think I prefer the hazy a bit more. This isn't bad, far from it. It's really, this is a good to very good beer. This is a very good to great beer. So what are we gonna do rating-wise? Well, rating-wise, I think it's pretty simple for me. This beer is the winner of the two. This is one that I would happily drink at any point. I got to get to Griffon Brewing. I got to go over there. I want to do, like on location, not only a brewed and bottled, like I mentioned before, but I want to go to Griffon Brewing and check out their digs and whatnot. We'll see if we can make that happen. But Griffon Brewing, their NZ Sunrise, which is, they just call it IPA. You could call it New Zealand IPA, New England IPA, Hazy IPA, whatever the case may be. I'm going to give this, what should I give this? Not focusing. I'm going to give this we'll go high 4.25. I'll go 4.35. This is delicious, my friends. It really is. I can't recommend this one enough. If you're in the Western New York area, check them out for sure. Now, this beer, however, on this side, go a little bit lower. I'm going to give Fierce Haka Dance their West Coast IPA. I'm going to go high 4 out of 5. I'll go 4.05. It's the best I can do. I definitely think the other one's a little bit more than a quarter point better than this, so it is what it is. But, these are both really tasty beers, if I'm being honest here. So anyway, it's cuvee time. So how do we do the cuvee? We take the Mortalis glass that's the same size, and we pour both of them, which I think they both have, they both have about the same. We'll see if they do or not. Look at all the goodies at the bottom. I did roll these before I turned on the camera. something like that. So we have both of these. We'll throw it over here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this. So let's give it a little bit of a swirl here. How does that look? It looks murky. It really does. It looks very, very murky. Let's get a nose. Whew. So the hazy definitely dominates in this nose. Yeah, so it's basically everything this beer is throwing at me, but with that dank herbaceousness from the Fierce Haka Dance. Still very vibrant because this nose was immaculate. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Oh, that's really nice. Wow. What I love about it, and I was worried about, you know, which beer would dominate. The hazy dominates. The base is definitely this beer, but then it's blanketed by this herbaceous, herbal, basil, thyme, dank quality, maybe even a little bit of pine. So it's everything that's great about this beer, but with the added like dank, herbaceous quality of this one. I think this is actually better than both of them. I'm surprised. Yeah, I could drink this all day. I'll give it slightly higher than the base, 4.4. This is a low 4.5. This is one of those, I've been struggling recently with the cuvées because they usually don't hit as well. This hits better than both the beers and just slightly better than the hazy, than NZ Sunrise. But I think, for me anyway, that this is the winner of all three, without question. Price point availability, I checked their website. $19 a 4-pack for both of these at the brewery. Bit steep, 5.9%, 7.2%, almost $20 a 4-pack. That's like other half prices for like their double IPs and stuff. I know they're a smaller brewery, so obviously it's a bit different. But that is pricey. I did actually pay lower for both these cans. I bought them at the aforementioned brewed and bottled, like I said, $4.50 for each of these. So if you were to put that in a 4-pack, it's $18 a 4-pack. So it's crazy. I actually paid less for singles than if you were to buy 4-packs at the brewery. But if you're local in Youngstown, if you're in Lewiston, you want to support Griffon, then $19 4-pack, whatever. It's a couple more dollars than a lot of the other places. And without question, this beer is worth that price point. Their brewery, as far as like how far they're away from brewed and bottled in Lewiston, is about a 11 minute drive, so not a big deal. Youngstown's about 25, 30 minutes from my house, and Lewiston's about 20 to 25. So anyway, this was a lot of fun to do. Availability, like I said, though, it's Griffon. I think they get in brewed and bottled, Tops in Lewiston, and then I think they're in Consumers Beverages as well, maybe a couple other spots, but they're not that big of a brewery. They started out with a gastropub that I went to many times before in Niagara Falls, New York. I think it was 2013 or 14 they opened up. Then they have a bunch of other locations, and they finally started a brewery last year. So like I said, I want to go to the brewery, check out their digs, and see what other kind of beers they have. And I've had, I think, a sour from them. I've had another IPA, and now I've had these two. So I got to drink more from them, especially if this beer specifically is an indication of the quality. They are doing great as far as the hazies are concerned, because this is the second hazy I had. They're both pretty damn good. So if you're in the Western New York area, I'd imagine most people who watch this review are going to be in the Western New York area. Post a comment section. Let me know. Have you been to Griffon? What do you think about their beer? Have you had either of these beers specifically? If so, what is your favorite between the two? This will definitely not be the last time I review them this year, and I'm happy I did this. So we did another brewery showcase in the books, despite the fact that they're not like super similar. West Coast IPA, New Zealand IPA, hazy IPA, whatever you want to call it. It was fun to do this. I do this once in a while, probably a couple times a year, so I thought it was time to do it for a Western New York brewery that I've never had before. So I'm going to shut this one down. 5.9%, 7.2%, you can't tell. Nowadays, if I really talk about the ABV in a sub 8% beer, I was going to say there's problems, they're not, but breweries have done such a great job hiding ABVs nowadays that if there is a beer that's like 7 or 6.5% and I actually feel the alcohol, that is so rare. So sometimes I forget about mentioning the alcohol in reviews like this, but I really don't taste any. I think one thing I would like to see a little bit more out of this is maybe a little bit more of a pronounced bitterness. This has like a mild to moderate bitterness, more approaching moderate, pretty dry on the palate, not sweet or anything, but I want to see like a firm moderate bitterness, and I would just want a little bit more authentic West Coast vibes from this one. it had a little bit more, too much of that herbaceous dankness, which I enjoy, but it's a West Coast IPA. Whether you're new school or old school, it's a kind of different. And they're using a bunch of, New Zealand hops in the dry hop, so I think that's why it's a bit different as a whole, but I do thoroughly enjoy both of these beers. So yeah, anyway, it's a longer review. Typically is when I do these brewery showcases, so I do apologize, but I'm going to shut this one down. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another West New York Wednesday. Check back next week for another installment. Until then, cheers.